Let's get started talking about The Suicide Squad. Yesterday, I snuck out to a movie theater and checked out The Suicide Squad. I wanted to wait till the weekend was over because I didn't want to go and be surrounded by too many people. And it was weird because I was in a theater with about 5 other people, and it was a huge theater, and it was pretty much empty. And I was watching one of the most explosive and chaotic and crazy and ambitious action movies I've ever seen. The Suicide Squad, whether you think of it as something that exists within the DC pantheon of films or in that universe or with characters that you know or don't know, whatever your sort of presuppositions are about the Suicide Squad, one thing about this movie that is for damn sure is that it explodes all the way through. The chaos is palpable. Characters explode. There are bloody bits and pieces and chunks everywhere. It's an R-rated film that doesn't hold back on anything. There's nudity. There is just absolute gore. There's lots of vulgar elements. And then there are massive destructive action sequences where buildings are blowing up and toppling and falling upon each other. And I was thoroughly entertained all the way throughout this movie. I think that what James Gunn was able to do with the Suicide Squad is, of course, reinvent what transpired in the previous Suicide Squad movie, using some of the characters, like we see Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang return, we see Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag return, of course Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is back, and we see Viola Davis return as Amanda Waller, heading up the Suicide Squad and sending out these supervillains on a mission that they have to complete or die trying, or Amanda Waller will press a button and explode their heads. And of course, we get to see a sequence where one of the Suicide Squad has the head explode. And it's shocking, and it's funny, and it's tasteless, and it's aggressive, and it's ambitious, and it's silly. But it's hard to take your eyes off of the screen, you know? And I've, heard and seen that some people are turned off a little bit by the vulgarity of the film and how far it goes. And there are some shocking elements in the movie for sure. But the movie is just so filled with entertainment, Every character in the film, even if they're on screen for a very small chunk of time, has a moment, has a beat, has value to the plot and to the proceedings and the story. There is a tremendous amount of death. In a film called The Suicide Squad, whether it was based on a comic or not, you would kind of accept that you're going to see a tremendous amount of carnage and death. And there is that. The movie lives up to its title, but every character has value. Every character delivers something that sort of progresses the story forward, or the camera swivels to them for at least a minute, and they have a beat that resonates, that actually makes you feel for the characters in some weird way. Whether that's Rebel Troops headed up by Alice Braga, or it's a sequence with Ratcatcher and she has a moment with her cute but terrifying little rodent buddies, or we see a true standoff and a respect that is aggressively earned between John Cena's character, the Peacemaker, or Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba. A standout in the picture is definitely David Dastmalchian as the Polka Dot Man, which has got to be one of the most insane concepts ever projected into a superhero experience, and I can't believe it's from the DC. I don't know any Polka Dot Man stories. I haven't read one, at least that I remember. But it's crazy that this character is in this film, but David Dastmalchian does a really good job in this performance, and you really care about him. And that's true with, sequences all the way through. But, of course, what you pay the big screen ticket price is to see the chaos and to see the big explosions and the final confrontation with a giant freaking monster that is beautifully represented. I mean, this is clearly an incredibly expensive film, and you can see a lot of the great practical effects, and the camera work is amazing. And James Gunn is always, a pretty cool tastemaker when it comes to accompanying these chaotic visuals with cool music, whether it's licensed tracks from established music artists or the symphonic score, which is great in this film. But it all is just this, melt your mind kind of escapism on a big screen. But it's weird to see it in an empty theater. There are big sort of cheer moments and chaos, butt-kicking sequences in the film where you're just like looking around like, did you see it? But there's nobody there. And that's the way I saw it. So it was weird. And because of that, I feel like I would have preferred to have watched this at home because I was alone. I didn't go with anybody. I went to steal myself away and go check this out by myself. But I would have preferred to have watched this with my wife on my big screen. But there's no option in Canada where I'm watching this stuff from. I feel like this is absolutely worth a trip to the theater safely, but it's weird if you're going to watch this in an empty theater. So at least go with somebody so you kind of revel in it. But, I also appreciate that this is not going to be for everybody. It's confusing that it's tied to a previous branded entry in the DC universe, and Suicide Squad was such an awful movie. What an abysmal movie. It was so bad that David Ayer, who directed it, has disowned it. And it was terrible. And so people probably have the bitter taste of that in their mouth. Plus, the DCEU is just so freaking confusing. Plus, these are dark times, and the pandemic is, swelling again. And it's weird to see suicide in the title. And all of these characters are so kind of obscure in this wide breadth of different superhero and supervillain properties that exist out there that it may just not connect with the sort of wider audience. But this is fantastic filmmaking, and it's a crazy, entertaining movie, and everybody does a great job. I couldn't fault any performance. I loved Idris Elba's work. I think this is the best that Margot Robbie has been, and Harley Quinn actually has some really killer things to do in this movie. There's some disturbing things that happen to Harley Quinn in the middle of the film, but she responds the way that Harley Quinn would, and I think that she delivers a great performance in this, and I think you should see it. I don't think you should go to a full theater. I think you should definitely not see it alone. And if you have to wait till it comes home for you, if you're in a country where you can't watch it streaming, that's not going to be terrible, because this is definitely going to be entertaining at home, and it's going to be one that you're going to want to watch over and over again. There's lots of little bits in there. I'm going to give James Gunn's The Suicide Squad a 9 out of 10.